Hey, thank goodness. Wow. I think we're all just really excited up here this morning. So I'd like to call the meeting to order for Western Municipal Water District Regular Board Meeting of March 18th, 2026 at 9:30. And Ms. Ford, may we have roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Director Gardner.
I am here.
Director Torres. Director Dinstedt.
Present.
Director Risby.
Good morning, I'm here.
President Roten.
And I am also here.
Thank you. Good morning. President Roten, you do have a quorum today.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to invite Adrian Enriquez, Operations Technician 2, Construction Collections / Operations Department, to come forward and lead us in the pledge. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name's Adrian Enriquez. I'm an Operations Technician 2 with the construction. I've been here for 2 years, and it's been a great 2 years.
Oh, nice.
And then, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Ford, do we have any public comments this morning?
We do have one written comment that came in prior to the deadline. That comment is on the dais. Staff has taken care of it. If the public would like to see that comment, they're more than welcome to contact the Board Secretary's office at boardsecretary@wmwd.com. And I have no request to speak in person.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move to presentations. California Municipal Utilities Association overview and updates. Mr. Miller,
Well,
did you
I'm
wanna intro?
really happy to have Danielle Blessed-Hayden here today. I spend a lot of time with her as the president of CMUA and collaborating with her on how she's running the organization. And she's doing a fabulous job. She's completed her first year successfully.
Yes.
And she has a big week next week as they have their annual conference next week. So we're part of the Danielle Roadshow. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo, but it's a Where's Danielle. And so yesterday she toured our facilities, and today she would like to give the board an update on what CMUA is up to. So with that, Danielle, welcome.
Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all today. I know you all, are familiar with CMUA, but I am going to give a little bit of an overview, then talk about what happened in the past year, what we're looking for in 2026, and then also a long-term vision for the future. And before I begin, I did want to introduce my colleague, Megan Murphy. She's our senior regulatory advocate, and she'll be giving part of the presentation today. So what are we going to talk about? CMUA overview, successes and highlights of the past year, priorities and initiatives for 2026, and then vision for CMUA's future. So this is just our boilerplate slide about our vision, mission, and values. But really, when it comes to our mission, we want to be a trusted partner and advocate for community-owned water, wastewater, power utilities, and their customers. If you don't know, we represent about 60 public water and wastewater utilities, but we also represent about 45 publicly owned electric and gas utilities. So that's something that's unique about CMUA. So what happened in 2025? I think you probably have heard a little bit about this bill called SB 72. Craig probably updates you at every meeting, but this was a major accomplishment for CMUA as the lead co-sponsor with the leadership of your general manager, Craig Miller. We could not have done it without him and his team, Michael and Sarah and everyone that was involved. It modernizes the California Water Plan and sets the first water supply targets in the statute. There was a recent press conference with the author and then also the director of DWR, and that was fantastic, and everyone's super excited, and we were really pleased that we were able to be a part of getting that passed. And Craig is representing CMUA on the advisory committee and along with Western Water, and we're very excited for that. And then for low-income water rate assistance, we had a briefing with Michael yesterday, and he talked a little bit about that being part of something that Western Water is following. We secured key amendments in a bill that had to do with establishing a statewide water assistance program that the bill ended up dying, but then it's coming back this year, and all of our amendments that we secured last year are going to be in this round. So we're very excited about that. And then we definitely have a few highlights on the regulatory side for our successes, and I'm going to turn that over to Megan for her part of the presentation.
Thanks, Danielle. Yeah, just really quickly, I am Megan Murphy. I oversee all things water regulatory. And so in 2025, we had several successes I just want to mention here really quickly. Water loss leak registry was part of the Making Conservation in California a Way of Life requirements. And it began as a huge laundry list of things that agencies were required to submit annually. And we worked to advocate to get that pared down drastically into some key required and mostly optional data points. So big win there. And then second was our water measurement reporting effort. This was all part of SB 88, which is required for water right diversions. And some of the things that came out of the state to require measurements on weren't technically feasible for a lot of our water members. So again, we're able to translate that to actually boots on the ground and how things are done and relay that to the state. And finally, one of our favorite regulatory pathways is the Advanced Clean Fleets, which has really been important for a lot of our members. And my colleague Priscilla Quiros and Derek Dolphy have been advocating a lot on this front, even meeting with CARB staff weekly, and that's continued into 2026. And new this year, directed by CMUA's board, was wanting to see a more defined pathway for our priorities in 26. And so after a long, robust stakeholder engagement process, we whittled down some of our priorities for 26 on regulatory. We want to continue advocating on the SB 1157, which defines the indoor residential use standard. Water quality, of course, is important for a lot of our members, PFAS, manganese, and Prop 4 funding, reporting requirements, and advanced clean fleets. I'll pass it back to Danielle. Thanks.
Great. And on the legislative side, again, with these priorities, water rights, water quality, water affordability is going to be key. Water supply. Andrea, our Director of Water, and Megan are going to work closely on the implementation of SB 72, and then also subsidence when it comes to our conveyance facilities in California. As I'm sure you all know, we have a major issue with subsidence, and so not only with that infrastructure, with the groundwater basins, and so we're following that really closely. What are we doing in 2026? We have our public power, public water, public good policymaker education campaign. We have an ad in the Sacramento airport, so if you are there sometime between now and mid-April, it's across from the Starbucks in the Southwest Terminal, so it's really great positioning. And we have a microsite, connectwithcmua.org, that has a lot of top 10 lists, easy digestible information for policymakers, journalists, the general public about public power and public water utilities, really telling that story about the good things that public utilities do for California. We started a membership appreciation month. We love all of our members, maybe you guys a little more than others. No, I'm just I know. But we do have a membership recruitment and retention campaign, because something that is very important to me is making sure that every member of CMUA feels valued and that we're really representing your interests for legislative and regulatory matters. We're increasing our staff. We're hiring a part-time policy analyst to help with the government relations team. We have someone we've selected, and we're working with them through the final process now. Something that is kind of a background thing, but it's very important. We're getting new association management software, and then one of the things that the board has said is really important for the organization is building reserves. I know as a utility, you all understand the importance of reserves, and so we don't have a lot of them, and so we're working to build those over the coming years. And then what is my vision for CMUA's future? Overarching goal, we want to become the foremost water and energy advocacy organization in California. We're doing that through the policymaker education, bolstering staff, and then also thought leadership. We're doing a policy paper on climate resilience, and that's going to be coming out soon, and just what all of you all are doing in terms of those projects to make sure we can be ready in the face of a changing climate. I do want to grow the membership. I joke with folks that we have 100 slots. We're not growing bigger than 100 utilities, so if you're not already a member, now's the time. And then reach our goal for reserves. So those are some of the administrative pieces of it. But that's all I have. Just wanted to do a brief summary. We were very blessed to be able to go out on a tour of your all's facilities. You're doing amazing work. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the board? No? I'm not.
Curiosity question.
Yeah.
So your growth on membership,
Yeah.
how many utilities, power, water agencies are there in the state?
Well, there's actually, we save a couple of really small ones. We have all the publicly owned electric and gas utilities in the state, so it's about in the mid 40s. In terms of water agencies, I think there's 3,000 water systems that serve more than 15 connections into 25 people in California. So but those are mutual water agencies, private utilities, that sort of thing. In terms of public, it's about 85% of that. So there are definitely a lot of them. But again, one of the things that is most important to me as the executive director of CMUA is that I'd like to consider us as a concierge type association where if, Craig calls, not just because he's the president, but if he calls or if another member calls, we take care of that issue. We just had something where a member of ours had a problem with LA County, and so we were working in close collaboration with them, did a lot of outreach, legislative work, and so we really want to make sure we maintain that small but mighty organization, so we're not getting too big and not able to do that type of concierge service that I think is one of the hallmarks of our organization.
No, and I appreciate that too. So, and here's an interesting follow-up question then.
Okay.
What type of partnership collaboration do you have with Aqua?
Oh, well, that's, they're much bigger, right? They're the umbrella organization. And I think for us, we have collaborative partnerships with the other water associations in the state, but we do look at our organization as something different. And we do, I used to work at Aqua. I worked there for almost 11 years. And it's just a different scope, and it's just a different, I think, attention to detail. For us, it's really important to make sure, like I said earlier in the presentation, that every member feels valued. And with 470 members, it's just a different kind of organization and a different approach. But we're here to be your advocates, and that's the most important thing to us, and making sure your interests are represented. And so we try and collaborate when it makes sense. It doesn't always, so we continue to have those conversations.
No, and we appreciate the leadership role and the charge that you guys took for SB 72 and all of that you guys did to march that forward and get it across the finish line. This has been Craig's baby for a long time, and we wanted to make sure that we got it all done, and finally it's been packaged up and delivered, and so now it's what's next.
Right, yeah.
So we do appreciate everything that you guys did in those efforts, for
Thank
sure.
you. Yeah, it took 2 directors of water to get it done. So, because I started the process and Andrea finished it. So, yeah, it was, but these sort of things are not easy to get something that important accomplished for the state of California when it comes to water policy. So we were just, honored to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, not easy, but so worthwhile.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you, Danielle and Megan. President Roten,
Yes.
I would recommend or ask if the board would consider moving a couple of the agenda items on the agenda. We have some special guests from Water Authority, and we'd like to move those items up if we could. So I would suggest moving 11A and 12A as the next two items on the agenda, if the board will take that under consideration.
Okay, any questions about that, or, okay, I think we're perfectly good to do that. Okay,
So we will, the board will be recessing into closed session to discuss the one item, 11A conference with real property negotiators at this time.
We're good.
Okay. Mr. Ballinger, would you like to bring us back into open session, please?
Yes, Madam President, the board met in closed session to discuss item 11A, then there was no reportable action.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item before us reflects a significant milestone for Western Municipal Water District and for our region. We are considering a long-term water supply agreement with the San Diego County Water Authority. This agreement strengthens our water reliability and reflects years of thoughtful planning and collaboration. Before we begin the presentation, I want to acknowledge the work that brought us here. This has been a highly coordinated effort across multiple teams, including our water resources, executive, and legal teams, as well as our partners at the Water Authority. I also want to recognize the staff and leadership from the San Diego County Water Authority who are here with us today. Water Authority Chair Nick Serrano, General Manager Dan Denham, and their team, including Mina Westford and Alex Heidi. We appreciate your partnership and willingness to be here for this discussion. These types of agreements do not come together overnight, and they require a great deal of diligence, coordination, and trust. With that, I invite Craig to present the item, and we will also welcome our partners from the Water Authority to share remarks.
All right, thank you, President Roten. Can I get the PowerPoint? Great. So there's a lot that goes into
Yeah.
significant agreements like this. They don't just pop up, and it's not every day that you have an opportunity to do big things in water. So I want to give a little bit of background on maybe how we got to this point. So next slide, please. So we called this the agreement framework, but this is bigger than that. This is big picture Southern California water. So, you know, there's a lot that leads up to this. And, you know, I applaud the Water Authority and Metropolitan and the leadership, the board leadership, the chairman of both of those organizations, because without a settlement of their long-term litigation, which I will say all the member agency managers like myself applauded that. We were thrilled that the two agencies could resolve that litigation because we knew that it was going to allow us more freedom in dealing with a really good partner in Water Authority. So huge step there. Without that, you know, drive and creativity and determination to resolve a long-standing legal disagreement, we wouldn't be here today. So that happened in June of 2025. Alongside that, another important thing happened at Metropolitan. Adon Ortega, the chair at Metropolitan, said Metropolitan should really be looking at our business model and how we do business, and we should consider whether there are changes that we should make in the business model. And so he asked the executive management team at Metropolitan to call together all the general managers from all the member agencies. They locked us in a room several times. It wasn't that bad. I liked some of those managers too. So we actually had a lot of fun. But as you can imagine, 26 member agencies sitting in a room trying to advocate for changes in a business direction of a very complex organization like Metropolitan was very difficult. There is the opportunity for a lot of people to advocate for their own needs. What came out of that was the member agency managers advocating for collaboration. And so we had, I think, 7 recommendations. One of those recommendations was that Met allow member agencies to exchange water. That was not allowed. And so now it is. So in 2025, Metropolitan, in August of 2025, after the settlement, they took a board action to allow that to happen. Well, that set the runway for this. And so we started talking to Water Authority shortly after that about opportunities. And so a lot had to come into play for this to happen. and a lot of political movement and a real drive to collaborate for the good of Southern California water. Next slide. So that's a long intro to here's how the agreement will work. So Water Authority has exchanged water out of the Colorado River system. They have agreements to do that with IAD. We are, this opportunity is created because of conservation that's happening and demand changes. And so Water Authority has presented this opportunity to acquire some of their exchange water. The water will move through Metropolitan's facilities from the Colorado River. Western will take delivery of the water as we normally take delivery of Metropolitan water. So no changes there. Important to Western is that this water will be considered a local water supply at Metropolitan. So if we had developed a new well or a recycled water project, brackish desalter, local sport, or an ocean desal, those would all count as local water. So this counts as local water too. So really important to us. So when there's cutbacks at Metropolitan because of the next drought that comes someday, we know it's going to come. We hope Metropolitan doesn't have to cut any of their member agencies back, but that has happened in the past. And when that happens, this water won't be subject to those reductions. Next slide. So here's the exchange. So we're going to acquire a 10,000 acre foot per year quantity from San Diego. It'll be moved through Metropolitan. That quantity lasts for the length of the agreement. In addition to that, we're going to pre-purchase 30,000 acre feet of exchange water that will be deliverable in future years at Western's call. We're going to pay at the same price for that water today at the start of this agreement in today's dollars. We'll pay in 4 installments for that water. So that'll be at the $1,304 per acre foot for a total of $39 million for that 30,000 acre feet of water. We'll pay for the 10,000 acre feet of baseline supply. It'll start at $1,304 and it'll escalate with inflation as the agreement dictates. That's good. Let's go to the next slide. All right. An important part of this agreement also is the ability to add additional water. So we don't know exactly what quantity Water Authority is going to have available every single year. We're locked into the 10,000 acre feet of baseline water. We think about our partner agencies within within the Western umbrella. I wanted to make sure that we were negotiating on their behalf as well as our behalf. So it's very important that we have the opportunity to increase our baseline to accommodate our partner agencies. So every year, San Diego is going to determine the amount of water that's available. If there's water available outside of their already predetermined agreements, we'll have an opportunity to acquire that water a couple of different ways. The other thing that we've negotiated with San Diego is an initial 120-day period where we can allow our retail partners to join into the baseline agreement. And we have a limit of 5,000 acre feet of additional water that can be added in the 120-day period. That 120-day period is only during this first year of the agreement. After that, if San Diego has additional water available on an annual basis, we can all participate in acquiring that water. This water is very reliable water. We'll get it in wet years and dry years. It's based on rights from Imperial Irrigation District, so they're very high priority rights in California. So we're very happy about that. Next slide. This agreement runs coterminous with the Imperial Irrigation Agreement with San Diego through the year 2047. There is a potential in that agreement for them to price adjust and reset the pricing. We have an opportunity at that point to evaluate the reset of the pricing. If it exceeds 8% over the prior year's pricing, we have an off-ramp where we could say that's too much for us, we'd like out of this deal. We also can choose to continue on with the deal if we think that that's acceptable for our finances. There's also an automatic extension. San Diego could negotiate past 2047. With IID, we have an automatic extension to go past 2047. We have the same 8% off-ramp at the year 2047 that we could opt out if we choose to. Obviously, this puts us in a very tight relationship with Water Authority, a tight operating relationship with Water Authority. I don't want to say we'll be nervous, but we'll certainly be communicating with them closely because, we're all aware of the Colorado River issues. We don't know what the resolution on the Colorado River is going to be. If Water Authority gets cut back by IID because of Colorado River settlements, we'll take a proportional share of those cutbacks with our deal. And then obviously, as we go through time, there's going to be more Colorado River issues. So we'll be very, very collaborative with Water Authority and make sure that we're all well informed of what's going on and how that would affect any of these deals. Next slide. All right, from Western side, so we have to, of course, look at Western's fiscal considerations. So we're going to pay a premium over Met rates. So buying Met water is the alternative. This water that we're purchasing is $10,000 will offset our purchases of Met water. We're going to be paying more than Met water initially. But for our own customers, we're going to cover that. I don't want, overpayment's not the right word, this investment that we're making above Met rates through property tax. So we don't have to go back as a board and redo our 4-year rate program that we just approved last year. So no rate impacts to our customers. Now, we fully expect in a short period of time that the rate that we're paying San Diego for this water will be less than the Met rate because San Diego water is going to increase at inflation. Metropolitan water is going to increase at inflation plus capital projects plus R&R that we know as a metropolitan agency there's going to be a lot of emphasis on catching up on those capital projects. So we're very comfortable that Metropolitan is going to be increasing at inflation plus capital projects. So we know there's going to be a crossing of the lines. At that point, when we're actually decreasing our imported supply costs, we will pass that on to the customers in that it'll be lower rate increases, incrementally lower rate increases in the future. When we look at and model this long-term, by 2047, we feel like this will be a cumulative savings to our district and our customers of a little less than $50 million by 2047. This is an enormous investment in resiliency and reliability for our service area. You look at, there's a lot of alternatives that you can do to ensure water for droughts and environmental issues and changes in statewide water supply and all the business growth and the development growth that's going on in our service area. We have to be very mindful of how we're preparing for that 50 years out. And this is the perfect step for what we've been looking for to make sure that we have resilience in our system for what's happening in Riverside County these days. So very important for us. Next slide. Okay, conceptually, this is how we've kind of modeled this. So the red line is what we're anticipating the cost of the agreement water will grow at. The yellow line, the yellow shape is what we're anticipating metropolitan costs will grow at. So this goes all the way through 2047. So as you can see, as we've modeled it here, those lines cross somewhere between 2030 and 2031. So we'll pay a little bit of a premium in the first 5 years, and then after that, we think we find a financial benefit to this deal for the remaining, whatever that is, 16, 17 years. And then if we do extend the deal, and San Diego extends the deal with IID, we would go all the way out to 2077. So that's the concept. We, of course, don't know exactly what those lines, this is our crystal ball and the best modeling effort that our finance team and Met's finance team has come up with. But I think this provides a really good picture of the economics of the deal. Next slide. So for us, when we talk about resiliency, you know, we've got imported water through Metropolitan. It's been phenomenally reliable ever since we've been formed as a Met member agency. I don't see that changing a lot. Metropolitan is working really hard, as you know, Dan and I are up at Metropolitan, to make sure that Metropolitan's continuing to secure imported water. We've invested a lot in 2 groundwater desalters. So we, remember, when I got here, we were 100% dependent for our retail area on Met water. We've reduced that to a 60-40 split. This reduces that even further by another 10,000 acre feet of local water supply. So we've heavily invested at this board's vision of, we got to have a diverse water portfolio. We need to invest in groundwater desalters. We need to have interconnections with member agencies like RPU that are very important. We've bought groundwater rights in San Bernardino Basin. We've worked out all the agreements so that we can move that water to our service area. We're fully recycled. You know, we need more sewage to recycle more water, but we've maximized that. This board asked me to go find more groundwater storage. We've increased in the last 2 years 8,000 acre feet of additional groundwater storage. This deal will increase that long-term resilience by 30,000 acre feet. So that's an enormous benefit to our water resilience. And so now, as you can see at the bottom line, now we've included water exchange in our long drive to diversify our water portfolio. Next slide. So we call this a win-win-win. Usually we say it's a win-win project. We've added another agency, so we can have 3 wins here. But for Western, long-term water resilience and water supply, 10,000 acre feet every single year, 30,000 one-time purchase that we can call on when we need it over the period of this agreement. We've secured an opportunity for all of the Western partner agencies to participate and share in the benefit. For Water Authority, we've worked hard to understand Water Authority's needs, what they need out of this agreement. No good agreement happens without meeting the needs of both parties, so that was really important. I admire the drive of the Water Authority team. I think we really check that box, that we're paying attention to what they're getting out of this, and they certainly are paying very close attention to what's attractive to Western. That's made for a great agreement. So they get revenue for exchange water that wasn't being fully utilized. It creates $13 million in the first year annually. That grows. It also creates $40 million in the pre-purchase of the 30,000 acre feet that they'll realize that revenue over a 4-year period. So it generates revenue. Don't leave Metropolitan out of this. This is really important for the Met family. You know, this is new water for Southern California, new water for the family. So it increases the bucket of water supply. It also maximizes the value in their investment in infrastructure. They're getting revenue to move this water into the service area from the Colorado, so they still get that money. Really important to Metropolitan. And I think Metropolitan has gotten to a new era where they're thinking about water much more collaboratively and holistically for Southern California. And I think this deal just opens up so many windows for Metropolitan and the member agencies of Metropolitan. So it you know, like, I think about it like, well, what does that do from the Western standpoint? Well, Western would be buying 10,000 acre feet of Northern California water. This offsets that. That leaves that Northern California water to be purchased by other Met entities or stored in the Met storage program. So this is a really good water resources solution for the entire Met family. Next slide. So with that, I would love to hear from Water Authority. So the ask eventually, when we're done with the presentation, is that I'd like the board to consider approving the execution of an exchange water delivery agreement with San Diego County Water Authority, which we would all hopefully sign tomorrow after Water Authority considers this at their board. And with that, I'd like to invite the chairman of Water Authority, Nick Serrano, up to make a few comments, followed by Dan Denham, the general manager at Water Authority.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. General Manager. Good morning, Madam President and members of the board. Again, General Manager Miller, everyone here today. As mentioned, I'm Nick Serrano. I serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff to the Mayor of the City of San Diego, Mayor Todd Gloria. I am also the Chair of the San Diego County Water Authority, representing the City of San Diego. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you. Colleagues, I'm here today on behalf of the San Diego County Water Authority and the residents of San Diego County to express our strong support for the agreement before you today and to extend our hand in partnership. Because what you are considering today is much more than just a contract or an agreement. It's a historic step forward in how Southern California water agencies work together in these unprecedented times. Our two agencies serve communities that together represent more than 4 million people across Riverside and San Diego County. 4 million people who depend on us to do one thing above all else: ensure that when they access their tap, safe, reliable, and affordable water is there. That responsibility has never been simple, and I know firsthand it is certainly not simple in this moment, particularly in a time defined by drought, climate change, the increasing pressure on the Colorado River. That responsibility has only become more complex. But colleagues, I would submit to you that moments like this remind us that the solution to those challenges is not for each agency to go it alone. The solution is partnership. Since I became chair of the San Diego County Water Authority, I've been traveling all across Southern California, promoting what I call a new notion of regionalism when it comes to water management. One that isn't about one county or one jurisdiction, but one about all of us in Southern California. It's a change of mindset that is necessitated in my mind about acknowledging the shared challenges we collectively face, but so too the shared opportunity. And that's why I'm here. Because what makes this agreement so important is that it reflects a new model for how our Southern California region can work together in these, again, unprecedented times. Because for decades, water policy has often meant each agency pursuing its own infrastructure: new pipelines, new treatment facilities, new supply development. Important and perhaps necessary investments, yes, but also incredibly time-consuming and expensive for the ratepayer, particularly as time has gone on. This agreement shows another path forward. Instead of duplicating infrastructure or perhaps putting your ratepayers at risk, this agreement leverages investments that have already been made. Investments made by San Diego ratepayers over decades to build a reliable and diversified water supply. Investments that today give us the flexibility and the ability to support others and strengthen reliability across the Southern California region. No new pipelines, no new treatment plants, just smart collaboration. So to my colleagues here at Western, this agreement strengthens your long-term water supply planning for one of California's fastest growing regions. It provides an additional layer of cost-effective drought protection and supply reliability for the nearly 1 million residents you serve, and it avoids the costs and timelines associated with building new infrastructure projects. At the same time, this partnership benefits San Diego because there is a broader significance to what we are doing here. The Colorado River, as you all know, one of the most important water sources in the West, is under extraordinary strain. We've all heard about this. And I believe every water agency that depends on it has a responsibility to be part of the solution. Partnerships like this help move us in that direction Because by making smarter use of existing supplies and infrastructure, we create flexibility that supports regional stability and the long-term health of the Colorado River without adding substantially onto the ratepayer. And so, to that end, this isn't about just Riverside. This isn't just about San Diego. This is about the shared water future for all of us in Southern California and the West. And so, to end perhaps where I began, this action is about much more than a contract or an agreement between two agencies. It's about demonstrating that in a moment of real challenge for the Colorado River and the West, agencies in Southern California can still come together, work together, and lead together. The people of San Diego County made significant investments to build water supply reliability, which we have. And in this moment, it also creates opportunity. Your leadership turns that opportunity into a partnership that benefits millions of people across our region. To use the benefits of those investments not only for ourselves, but to strengthen the resilience of Southern California as a whole. Acknowledging shared challenges, but so too shared opportunity. And so I believe if we continue to approach the challenges ahead with this same spirit of collaboration, I'm confident that the future of water in Southern California will not be defined by scarcity or division. It will be defined by partnership. And so I want to thank you, I want to thank your staff for the tremendous amount of work that has gone into bringing this agreement forward, and I want to thank each of you for your consideration of this item. I respectfully request your support for it. With that, it is my tremendous honor to introduce the General Manager of the San Diego County Water Authority, Dan Denham.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here today, allowing us this opportunity. You know, I'll say a lot of what Craig actually has already said, and I want to focus mostly on relationships, because the relationship between the Water Authority and Western has really come a long way. And it's not just our two agencies, it's the entire Met family. And I think that that's the most important aspect of all this. I think that what we're able to do through this agreement, it will demonstrate what all of us should have been doing all along. The ability to communicate effectively together, to produce an outcome, as my chair said, that does not require new infrastructure, a different way of thinking, a sharing of resources. I do think that that's the model for us going forward in the water industry. We're going to have to build new things, of course we are. But when you have two agencies like Western and the Water Authority that have the ability to get together and think outside the box, this should be the model. I want to, of course, acknowledge staff in all of this. My staff that came up here with me today, but Josh and Ryan and Rick and Tim and Holland. It's nice to be able to have conversations with people that you genuinely enjoy being around. And you know, that aspect of the deal is probably more important than oftentimes the deal itself. We did run into roadblocks throughout the process, as expected, but the ability to say, okay, let me step back and see if I can understand what their needs are, and vice versa, that goes a long way. And the spirit of that collaboration starts with the top, with Mr. Miller here. Mr. Miller, Craig, you know.
My dad's not here. I don't know who you're talking to.
Well, I don't know your middle name, so. Look, I know what it means to provide the vision and the leadership for an agency. That, I think, first starts with the trust the board puts in the general manager, and then that comes through in direction to staff. But Craig and I have had many conversations over the years, and especially what seems like every other day leading up to this point. And you know, he helped get this across the finish line more so than anyone else. And I thank you, Craig, for that, and I thank you all for having us here today.
Okay.
Can I know where you're going with this, but I neglected, and Dan inspired me. And I want to say also that, you know, Dan's pointing the finger at me as getting this across the line, literally Dan contacted me and said, you and I need to sit down with our staffs and our attorneys to get this over the finish line. And that's the difference. And, you know, they could be very honest about what they could work on in the agreement and what they couldn't work on in the agreement. And that it's like someone opened a window to, you know, transparency and honesty, and that moved the agreement really well. So I appreciate that, Dan, and your staff, and I want to thank our staff. We are working weekends to get this all done. And, you know, sometimes the public sector gets a bad rap for not working hard, and that didn't happen at these two agencies. You know, we worked really hard, but I want to thank the board, because the board gives me the latitude to think creatively and bring these things back, and you guys put a visionary hat on every time, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Craig. I think that this is an inspiring agreement. I think it's trend-setting. I think it's going to be encouraging to all of those across, really even across the state, not just in Southern California, to see what can happen when you sit at the table and do what you just described, Craig. I mean, it's pretty amazing, because government doesn't typically operate like this. But hopefully this is a big turning of the ship, and we're gonna see more of these kinds of agreements, not just in the water world, but across all difficult situations and challenges and problems that policymakers try to correct and improve and establish. So, so with that, we've had our presentation, we have the recommendation on the staff report, and I wanted to see if there was any board discussion. And I see an anxious hand over here, so Director Denstedt. Yes, I'm going to do this first, and then I'll do the public comment.
Thank you, President Roten. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to make comments on this. I appreciate the statements that have been made today. You know, when I went up to Metropolitan and was given the opportunity by this board to represent us up at Met almost 5 years ago, I can tell you that there has been a tremendous shift of vision of what the Met family has been concentrating on and looking at and trying to get things behind. A majority of the time that I have spent on this board, it's been involved in litigation. And I am so thankful that this is finally in the rearview mirror for us, that we have the opportunity to now focus on what our shared visions have been, what we encourage others to join in on, that everyone has really been at the forefront of talking about partnerships, talking about collaboration, talking about shared responsibilities. I love the fact that the chair has come up here from San Diego Water Authority to talk about not only do we have shared challenges, but shared opportunities. And I couldn't agree with you more. It has been truly my pleasure to work with the delegation from San Diego Water Authority. I have come to rely upon conversations, debates, healthy discussion, and what our concerns are, to be able to have those open and honest and frank discussions, and really appreciate the partnership and the collaboration that I have had with those individuals. I know that we are here for the greater purpose, for the people that we all represent in Southern California. Being that I spent a majority of my life growing up in San Diego and lived there for nearly 25 years before coming home to Southern California, Riverside County, I'm a Southern California baby. And there's a lot at stake here, a lot. And failure is not an option. It just isn't. Too many people rely upon our jobs and what we do for the lifestyle that they've come to enjoy and love and appreciate and what they call home. And Madam President, it is my honor to move this item. I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
So we have a motion and we can.
I'll second it.
Oh, gosh, everyone wants to second.
Of course.
We have a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth.
There we go. I think I heard Director Gardner.
I did.
You did. And are there any other questions, comments, discussions?
I do,
that
I
you
have.
would like to make?
Yes. I want to begin by seconding Chairman Serrano's comments. This is historic, a huge deal, and I am humbled to sit up here to be able to ratify, at least on our end of it, this decision. But I did want to go back and note, when Craig was presenting that table with the yellow bar and the red bar, he said it was a magic. What did you say? A magic ball? Crystal ball. I just want to say that he's being incredibly humble. The data that is provided to us, the models that are being used, are based on data and science and their conservative values. So we, while they are preliminary, there's no magic to it. It's not a crystal ball. It is done with a considerable amount of work to forecast this, and done so with ratepayers, with our member agencies in mind, and Western in mind, to make sure that we're doing what's best for all those entities. And so I want to, of course, thank our leadership, our staff, and the leadership that they've taken to implement this vision. To what did you say, August 25th? A month later, we had a letter out. That is, I mean, huge. I think Western is becoming a leader and ending the cycle of reactive work and looking at being proactive. They said in a month they had a letter drafted saying, hey, we want to work with you. That's huge. Again, I mentioned they looked out for our member agencies and how can they share in this history. And our ratepayers, the fact that our ratepayers are not going to have to carry this but benefit from this is a huge deal, and I don't know how that ends up in the title of a press release, but that's huge. And you all know how I feel about our ratepayers. Long-term planning is the only way that we can move forward. SB 72 is a prime example of Western's leadership in long-term planning, and now this. I mean, this is huge. And so I want to say thank you. I want to thank San Diego Water Authority for coming to the table, and like Director Denstedt said, the things you said about our staff, we're seeing them every single day, and so for it to be acknowledged publicly and through such a monumental agreement is, like I said, it's humbling. So I am also proud to sit up here to support this.
Thank you. Director Risby? Oh,
Go ahead.
Mike, okay.
Either way. I want to compliment everybody who's been involved in this, and I think our general managers, the Met general managers as a group, really helped change the way Met thinks and the way they operate. We've got two of the best ones right here in this room, and we've got a bunch of other really good ones in this region. This became possible when Chair Ortega at Met started pushing for a change in how Met does business, and the water exchange concept was authorized. And it led to this discussion, and I know how much time our staff has put in on this. It is really draining. They all like each other, but while it was friendly, it was a competitive negotiation. And everybody had interests to protect, and things that they could give on, things they couldn't give on, and they came up with what I think is just a magnificent document. It represents a revolutionary change in the way we think. It's ushers in a new era of cooperation and mutual support for benefit across agencies, some of whom aren't even part of this yet. And maybe there are other entities that are talking with the Water Authority about opportunities to negotiate their own deals. San Diego's got more water than available than we are taking. So this is the first step in what I think will be quite a few. I'm just really, this is what makes me want to keep doing this job, is getting to do fun things like this, challenging, innovative things. And I really wish Washington, D.C. would pay attention.
Okay, thank you.
This motion. This motion. So much has been said already. I would just like to congratulate both the agencies for this historic moment. Thank you, staff, for doing what, going above and beyond every day, and especially for this. And I feel honored and humbled to be sitting and being a part of this historic day today. So thank you.
Thank you, directors, all of you. Those were great comments. I have one last quick thing to say, but before I do that, I am going to ask if there are any public comments.
We have no public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. Then before we do our vote, I just wanted to add this line. If you look at the word community, the last part of that word is unity. To me, this agreement, based on what all you all have done, which is incredible, puts unity back in the water community. And I think it's been missing in a lot of different areas. We tend to be very possessive of our water, and I get that. You have to protect it and nurture it and all those kinds of things. But this is gonna be an example that people point to in a good way. And I'm just excited to just see it take off, and, assuming everything goes well tomorrow, which I'm pretty sure it will, but, you never know. So I think with that, unless anyone has anything else, we are ready to vote.
Director Gardner.
Aye.
Director Torres. Director Dinstedt.
Aye.
Director Rizvi. President Roten.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Now, I think we're going to have a photo opportunity, is that, okay? Okay? You want us all down there, I assume? Okay. Oh, gosh, yes. Okay. Yes, I think
We'll be
so.
starting in approximately 30 seconds.
We're on consent, right?
We are. And I'll make a comment first before we open to consent.
Okay. Oh,
We have returned to the dais, and all board members are present.
was that the announcement?
No, the announcement
Oh,
is,
okay,
we
wait,
will be
I'm
going
like-
into the consent calendar at the top of the agenda. On the consent calendar, we are going to pull the minutes for March 4th, and we'll bring those back to the April 1st meeting for consideration.
Okay, well, with that on consent, we have one item B, receive and file the January, February 2026 Government Affairs and Legislative Update. Do we have a motion to approve consent? Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. I think we're ready for roll call.
Director Gardner,
Aye.
Director Torres,
Yes.
Director Denstedt,
Aye.
Director Risby,
Aye.
President Roten.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you. The
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Okay, item 7, items to be added, Mr. Miller.
There's nothing to add?
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to the action agenda, item 8A. Take a support position on the proposed ballot measure called California Change Environmental Review Process for Essential Projects Initiative.
All right. Thank you very much. We set a ledge platform so that we don't have to come back for board approval most of the time on issues, but a ballot measure is a different issue. I also think that sometimes there's legislation that I think we should be more proactive in informing the public of what we're doing. But as a ballot measure, I wanted this to come back to the board, so the board and the public are both aware of what it is and have the board support us. So with that,
Absolutely.
Michael's going to make the presentation for us.
Good morning, Chair Roten and members of the board. Michael Hadley, your Government Relations Officer here at Western Water. Happy to be in front of you today to present what the California Chamber has deemed the Building an Affordable California Act. This is a CEQA streamlining bill, and as you all are very well aware, we've had CEQA streamlining as a top priority for Western Water's legislative platform for years and haven't really seen a lot of movement on that front. But this ballot measure could be a big deal for us on that front. So the problem, obviously, everyone knows that CEQA is a real challenge when it comes to building projects, whether it's infrastructure, housing, what have you. There's groups that have been able to leverage it in a way that significantly delays or stops projects that are really important to our region. It adds cost to those projects every time it's delayed or stopped. And it doesn't actually benefit a lot of the infrastructure that we're moving forward with and that we care about. The solution, this was put forward by the California Chamber of Commerce. This Building an Affordable California Act would modernize the outdated approval process to build essential projects for that faster and more affordably. Some of the core reforms included in the measure, enforceable timelines. So agencies must complete environmental reviews within 365 days. If they miss that deadline, there needs to be a public hearing and a final action within 60 days. Some clear standards on written rules when applications are submitted, so that way people are well aware of how the process works. Public comment establishes a firm 45-day public comment window, so that we've known that to be abused at times. Streamlined alternatives, obviously, so with certain projects, there's requirements to have many different variations of a project be presented in CEQA, and as you can imagine, especially for really large projects, that would take a significant amount of time to analyze. So this would require just two options, either the project, one alternative, or no project scenario. So those are the examples that would have to be presented in a CEQA document. For anyone who wants to challenge a CEQA approval, the court has to solve it within 270 days. Again, the courts may overturn approvals if agencies fail to follow the clear written rules. So there's a way to appeal if a court does approve this overturn an approval. There's a process for looking at that. It's obviously if one part of the environmental review is flawed, that section must be fixed, allowing the rest of the project to move forward while on schedule. So that's a good thing. And then evidence-based review. So the courts must uphold approvals supported by substantial evidence. Originally, we often see CEQA bills related to housing, but this is broader than that. This directly benefits water projects, housing, schools, healthcare facilities, transportation, clean energy, public safety and wildfire resilience, and broadband projects. So an important note to that, though, all ancillary infrastructure related to these projects would also be deemed as essential projects. So the last slide here, the bottom line, the Building California Act will streamline reviews and eliminate costly delays, curb frivolous lawsuits that block essential projects, protect taxpayers from keeping public projects on time and on budget, lower the cost of housing, infrastructure, and essential services, maintain community input and local control, and protect California's strong environmental worker and tribal cultural resources protection standards. So it still has this process set in place. There's just now timelines and shot clocks attached to when things need to get approved. So with that, this was a presentation provided to us by the California Chamber of Commerce. Staff is recommending a support position on this ballot measure. It has currently achieved 25% of the minimum amount of votes needed to be on the November ballot, and the California Chamber is very confident that they will meet the minimum amount of signatures needed by probably next month. So they're very confident this is going to be on the ballot. We are bringing this up a little earlier than normal. We usually bring a ballot measure before you all when it actually qualifies for the ballot, but given what level of priority this ballot measure is in our legislative platform and wanting to get on early on this, I wanted to bring this before you for your consideration today. And with that, staff recommends taking a support position on this ballot measure. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions?
I just have a comment. I just want to, I work in the regulatory world. You guys know this, and so I love to see bills like this. But it's not going to go down without a fight.
Of course.
So I just want to be clear on my stance in general. Although I understand, we know where there will be pushback. There are still 1 million people in California without access to clean, reliable water.
That's true.
Let's be very clear about that. And the reason, one of the major reasons that happens is because we cannot move projects forward quick enough. Our pipelines is one example. Every capital improvement project that we work on to give that access, CEQA is one of those issues. While CEQA is important for maybe other development, I think it is time that California takes a hard look at where we need to streamline these processes. And obviously, housing is the second most important thing that is in most people on most people's minds. Same thing. We have a housing shortage. We have a slew of gubernatorial candidates saying that they're going to build 6 billion houses or whatever. Sure. If that's the case, then this is what's going to get them there, and I absolutely believe that. So I wanted to say that, and I want to move the motion forward.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I saw, did I see another hand down here? I have a couple questions.
Sure. So here's the question that I have is, I guess what is the major challenge for this? I mean, I don't disagree with Director Torres' assessment at all that this is a challenge that we've had, but out there in the industry and the talk, what's the pushback, if you know about any or a momentum that's gaining to try to get this?
So as of now, when you look it up online, there's not a no on building an Affordable California Act yet. And I'm sure once it gets closer to the election times, there may be groups that fundraise for that. So I have not seen that yet. But, I mean, you just have some of the typical concerns are around setting these timelines on local agencies to get things done, the pressure puts on the court system, things like that. But I'm fairly confident that with the development of AI and with, you know, those resources getting allocated, those processes are going to get easier and faster if we allow it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And my next question is, if we choose to move this item, obviously we have a motion on this in a second, but if we choose to move this item forward, what are we going to do to put this out there? Are we going to put this on our website as a communication piece? Are we going to draft a support letter, allow our logos to be printed out there? What is it, what action are we going to take in order to?
Because it's a ballot measure, we can only say that we took a position. We can't advocate.
Right.
So we can just say, so we'll think carefully about how we put that out there.
So we'll,
We can,
To clarify, board members.
This is why I wanted to put this out
Board-
there, just so
Yeah,
we
it's
could do
It's a
that.
good question. Board members are free to use their time and advocate as well as educate, but in terms of using Western resources, we can only educate, and that usually means taking a position and leaving it at that. But you all, board members are welcome to use, yep.
No, and this is why I asked the question. I wanted to make sure that it was clear that, you know, when we take a position on certain things of what our limitations are and what we're free to be able to do and not do, and make sure that the public is very understanding of why you may only see some movement and only some opportunities to do exactly what that is educate and inform people of what our position has been taken. So I just wanted to make sure that we put that out there on the record. So thank you for that. I appreciate your hard work on this. I couldn't agree more that this is much needed, and hopefully, I'm kind of curious how the courts are going to react to not impacting it on the 270 days in order to render decisions with the courts. That might be significant pushback from the judicial side, which could be entertaining, how this is perceived and move forward, and how they're going to market it. So,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Sure.
I think we need to push the affordability part of it. That is the most, when I was looking at the presentation, I was like, the cost of, you know, $75,000 is a big cost on a, you know, on a house or anything.
Right.
So pushing affordability is, you know, is something that we can.
And like we've talked about with the Department of Water Resources, in order to make SB 72 a reality and hit those numbers, there needs to be some type of permitting reform, and we as staff feel strongly this is a good way to do that.
Yes.
Okay, so I know we had a motion. Did we have a second?
We do have a motion, we do not have a second.
I'll second.
Oh, okay. No worries. I just thought I missed
You
it.
guys jumped out there for all the other ones.
I asked her, did anybody second? She's like, she seconded. I was like, okay. I was like, okay.
Did we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay. Then I think if there's no more discussion, we can, Director Gardner, did you have a comment? Okay. We're ready for the vote. Great.
Director Gardner.
Aye.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Dinstedt.
Aye.
Director Risby.
Aye.
President Roten.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Item 8B, approve a capital project budget to upgrade the Western Municipal Water District's information services, computer systems, hosting infrastructure.
Good morning, directors. Thank you. So with all the excitement today, I thought you could use a ho-hum item to consider. We got some old stuff. We need to buy some new stuff. So we talked about this at Finance Committee on Monday. So this is a request for a capital project budget to upgrade Western Municipal Water District's information services, computer systems, hosting infrastructure, as you just said, President Roden.
Mouthful.
So essentially, this is the behind-the-scenes equipment that operates all of our critical business systems. So this project is included in the 2025-2026 Capital Improvement Facilities Plan at $395,000. As we worked on this and we finalized the project scope and we looked at the pricing market, currently, when this was planned maybe 2 years ago, because we're doing it right now, so it must have been 2 years ago, we found that that amount was insufficient. So our request is for the overall project budget and a modification to the capital improvement plan for $200,000 to a total of $595,000. But to give a little bit of information in plain terms, this equipment is essential, the hardware that our essential applications rely on every day. Things like our billing system, our work order system, GIS mapping, databases, cybersecurity tools, and just general data and database storage and file storage. So it's upstairs, it's in our data center. It's what we kind of rely on for all of those systems. And the project's gonna replace that aging equipment here in the Meridian Data Center. And we utilize what's often called a 3-tiered system. So that includes servers, data switching, and a storage area network, or a SAN, as it's often called. That SAN is an environment that keeps our data kind of protected, so it's a unique piece of equipment that we use. So our current equipment is about 5 to 7 years old, which is a typical service life for this type of equipment. As it nears the end of life, the risk of failure goes up. Vendor support becomes limited because they don't keep sort of spare parts and things like that on hand as much for older equipment, and then the cost to maintain and repair it and keep it reliable goes up, as well as the difficulty to do so. So to keep everything reliable and compatible with modern standards, it's important to replace these on a regular cycle. So by completing the upgrade, we reduce the operational risk, we improve service continuity, and strengthen our resiliency of our systems. I'll also note that for this overall project budget, this request is for the overall project budget, but not asking for any specific approval authority or any specific purchase order. If you refer to the table in the staff letter, you'll see the cost broken down into those broad categories of servers, storage, and switching. And staff has been working on developing cost quotes and such, so that we expect each of those separate purchases as part of the combined project to be within the general manager's purchase authority, and we'll process those accordingly, according to our normal purchase procedures. And then just a reminder, we are seeing a lot of pricing volatility here, so that's why we brought this item to the Finance Committee on Monday and are coming here today, so that we can work quickly to secure pricing before it changes again. With that, staff requests the Board of Directors approve a capital budget of $595,000 for the Information Services Computer Systems Hosting Infrastructure Upgrade Project, and amend the board-adopted Capital Improvement and Facilities Plan for fiscal year 2025-2026 accordingly under the Asset Replacement Reserve RES 05 of the General Fund 10. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
No questions.
I have a comment.
A comment? That's fine.
Yes, my gosh, I was gonna say, I think, I want to, I'll move this. I just think there's got to be a plan to upgrade this sooner. I can't imagine having a 5-year-old phone. It gives me anxiety to think that. I don't know if we can, especially because in 2 years, you had a huge increase, or change in your cost estimates, right? That's not going to get better. So maybe this is something we upgrade sooner than 5 to 7 years.
If I can respond. So we considered that, and we looked at those things. Part of what we're incorporating into this plan is I would maybe take a step back from saying future-proof, but future preparedness.
Sure.
So we add capacity, we consider those things. I will say 5 years is a reasonable service life for the equipment, and it's pretty standard. I mentioned, I believe, at the Finance Committee that we're Dell certified here. We use Dell equipment for our server hosting infrastructure. It's pretty normal to be able to get a 5-year warranty support from the manufacturer on that. And so we're also incorporating capacity planning for any future changes and new needs. We know the projects we're going through the capital planning process now, so we know future software projects and those things that we see on the horizon. So we're considering those things. What we're hoping for, part of our strategy here, is to give ourselves that time frame to see if we can watch how the market stabilizes.
Okay.
And I think if we saw other risk factors creeping in, we have active planning programs where we look at this, we look at the risk, and if we see those things changing, then we'll pivot and we'll act accordingly to prepare for that. But we want to give ourselves, we feel like this project will give ourselves time to kind of watch the market and see what it does, because it changes every day.
All right.
There's just new stuff all the time.
Happy to move.
Okay, any other discussion on this? No? And do we have any, did I ask for public comment?
You did not? We have none.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mauser, for your presentation. I think we're ready for the vote.
Director Gardner.
Aye.
Director Torres.
Yes.
Director Dinstedt.
Aye.
Director Risby. President Roten.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
Thank you, directors.
Are you leaving now? Oh, okay. All right. 9A is our general counsel report. Mr. Ballinger?
Nothing substantive, but I did want to let you know that because my colleague Holland Stewart played such a significant role in drafting of the agreement that was approved earlier today, he'll be attending tomorrow's signing ceremony on behalf of Western's legal counsel. And also, he will be attending the next board meeting because I'll be out of town. So wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, item B1, general manager's report.
Okay, well, you might guess that we already took action on where I've been spending a lot of time
Yeah.
on that agreement. That was fun. It was really, really nice of Water Authority to come down and Chair Serrano spending time with us. But we juggle a lot of balls all the time. So Jerry Brown was here and spoke with us last board meeting. It was great.
Not the governor. I know.
And he did present to our Water Alliance. Remember, that was for the 4 agencies getting together to look upstream and figure out, well, what happens if Met can't be reliable? What do we do? Well, I'm really happy to say that Western found something to do, but sites is still really important to California Water. And so it was really, I'm really glad he had the opportunity to present to the board, talk to the Alliance, and he's talked to Met many times. And so it's still in play, it's moving. He's done a fabulous job of corralling that project and making positive direction, and they're getting really, really close. So that was a good thing. It was great to hear from him. SB 72 is really taking off. It's just so fun to watch others gravitating towards the progress. So Senator Caballero had a press conference at San Luis Reservoir on Friday. I went up for that. It was the senator and myself and Carla Namath and Fern Steiner, who's the chair of the California Water Commission.
One other gentleman, union, one of the union trades or?
No,
No.
it's going to come to me in just a second. He represents the Carpenters Union.
Was it Carpenters? Yeah, it was one.
It'll come to me before I'm done. Wait for it, yeah. No, I'm not going to wait for it. We got stuff to do. So that was great, and great follow-on conversations with Director Nemeth on how she and Joel Metzger, and Joel was there also, how they're moving forward. It looks like the first meeting of the advisory committee is going to happen in May. So we've got it blocked on the calendar. It'll be a 2-day event up in Sacramento, so really excited to kick that off. You all, well, most of you were there at the groundbreaking event for the March Force Main. That was a really nice event. You guys, President Roten, you did a great job. Congressman Takano to show up and make all those comments and stick around and talk to everyone was just great. I just think how much he's gravitated towards water and sewer issues and base issues since he started. It's just been really, really great to watch. So really appreciate that. And our staff, ops staff, and the communications staff for putting on an amazing event and making the facility look. It's a sewage treatment plant. Yeah, we didn't smell any sewage and we didn't see any dirt, dust, anything. It was really great. Thank you all. That was awesome. The last thing I want to talk about is something I'm spending an enormous amount of time on, is the Met budget. And really happy to say that working with our caucus, with Director Denstad to try and coalesce around some real important budget priorities has been great. That's resulted in our caucus's request to Metropolitan to to add an alternative for consideration to their budget presentation, so that's really good. So we've got that in the presentation, and Director Denstead's going to hear about that next Tuesday in the Met workshop, right? But we want to increase the AV. We want to limit spending on pure water to what is required with the grants. We want to eliminate overhead positions. Shivaji has requested 105 positions, including overhead positions, including 8 positions for pure water. And we think my position is until that project is actually approved by the board, we shouldn't be hiring people or investing in capital improvements in that project. When it gets approved by the board, have an action to add it to the budget. So our caucus is all on board with that. We want to look more at conservation funding and removing LRP funding from the 2-year budget, because there's $8 million in there for LRP projects, and we don't see any LRP projects. So why are we budgeting $8 million? So luckily, that hard work with our caucus and what Director's been doing up at Met has been added to the alternatives, and we'll just wait and see how those discussions go up at Met. But I think it's really good progress, and I'm really happy that we're able to have an alternative that's going to be talked about broadly with all of the Met board members, rather than doing this at the last second, in the hallways and then presenting something that no one's really sure what it is. I think we're doing a good job, and the Met board and Met staff has done a good job of, let's air this all out and get it in the discussion environment so we can make a smart decision in April on budgets and rates. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments for Craig? No? Okay. And now we get our water supply conditions update. Looks like Josh.
Wait,
Now I can
wait,
never remember
wait.
if it's Josh, it's the good news, and
Wait,
Ryan
wait,
is
wait,
the
wait.
bad news, or how does that work?
I got to finish my report. Danny Curtin. He's the representative from the Carpenters Union.
Oh, I'm like,
It came,
what?
it
What
came
was
to me from down this way.
Thank you.
All right,
Must be good news today.
kinda. Good morning, President Roden, members of the board. It's a short good news, if you will. The good news comes at the end, so.
Okay.
All right, we'll just
First
jump
the
right.
bad news.
We'll just jump right in. Let's start with our quick flyover of the hydrologic conditions. We'll begin with the Northern Sierra precipitation, which is sitting right on average at just over 40 inches, which is a slight increase since February. However, we've had a warm March, as we've all experienced, and have seen a decrease in the Northern Sierra snowpack, dropping from 44% last month to 24% of normal this month, so at just over 6 inches. On the upper Colorado River Basin, it's pretty consistent with last month, with the precipitation at 87% of normal, but the snowpack is trailing at just over 60% of normal. On this slide, we kind of wanted to take a moment and zoom out and take a quick look at the upper Colorado River Basin snowpack over time. So here in the light blue background, you'll see the median for the 1990s through 2020. The solid blue line shows last year's water year, and it tracked pretty close to average. Unfortunately, when you look at the orange line, you'll see that it's tracking consistently lower than average for this year. But it's just kind of interesting to look back, the last 40 years and see how that's tracking, and we're seeing a little bit of a dip there. Looking over to DWR snow survey, we did see a brief break in the dry period with some storm activity in late February. And although we got to see some good snow in the mountains, it really didn't last very long. The storms weren't quite enough to push the state back to its snowpack average. It's another reminder that California's water supply is increasingly dependent on capturing a small number of these big, impactful storms, and we just haven't seen enough this year to pack our frozen reservoirs. Now, as we turn to our state's surface reservoirs, we see the Big Six tracking nicely at 20% over normal for this time of year, at 85% full. So while our snowpack remains below average, the major reservoirs statewide are currently at healthy levels for this time of year. Closer to home, our local conditions are looking steady at about average precipitation. And despite the current heat wave, the LA, Santa Ana, and Santa Margarita watersheds are at or above average for this time of year. Diamond Valley Lake and Lake Matthews are holding steady at almost near capacity. And this brings us to our water supply and demand balance, where we've seen a positive shift. So last month, forecast predicted a supply gap of about 30,000 acre feet, so we were going to have a shortfall there. This month, with the current supply estimate of 1.47 million acre feet and a demand of 1.45 million acre feet, this leaves about 20,000 acre feet in storage. So now we've actually switched to have a little extra supply. So really good standing there, and metropolitan supplies and demands are balancing out well considering the current allocations. And to wrap up our update, this Sunday, March 22nd, is World Water Day, with a core focus of supporting sustainable development of clean water for all. And with that, I'd like to thank you all and answer any questions.
Any questions? Looks like we are good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to director comments and requests. Do we have a SAPA report, Director Gardner?
We have a very brief SAPA report. SAPA did meet yesterday, got a quarterly update from Chandler Asset Management, who's SAPA's new financial advisor investment company. It looked good. Got a briefing on a multimedia library that SAPA staff is putting together. Once upon a time, there was a SAPA hard copy library. It's kind of gone by the wayside. But this is something that may provide some good resources, particularly for secondary and post-secondary students who want to do research. And talked more about how much fun the 50th anniversary was, and there were no real actions to take.
Okay, and thank you for the, I don't know if you were instrumental in it, but got the beautiful book that SAPA provided.
Sarah Villa is the board secretary at SAPA, and she and I work closely together, and she graciously sent those over.
Oh, that was nice. I haven't had a chance to go through it, but just the cover looks great. Metropolitan.
Metropolitan, so it was a fairly quiet board meeting. I think a lot of time that's being spent right now is on the budget. As General Manager has stated, you know, we've got another 3-hour workshop scheduled next Tuesday to talk about the budget and go through scenarios and try to see where we're going to land on proposals so that they can start firming up some numbers and hopefully maybe get some direction from the board. So more to come on that. There were a couple of other items that probably our longest closed session in our committee discussion was over the legal and claims, and most of it was in closed session. I can't talk about it, so you know. And then much to my chagrin and giggles, I attended the board meeting, which was on my shared birthday with the general manager last Tuesday, and got big happy birthdays from everybody, and the chair recognized my birthday. So that was very kind of him to do that. So I did not get a cupcake, though, so I'm not sure what that's all about. But and then I had an opportunity, and I highlight this simply because I went to a conference on behalf of MET. It's the first time I've ever gone to this conference. It was the Sustainable Water Investment Summit, I believe, and it was up at Rancho Palos Verdes. And Brownstein was the one that organized this. Very different people at this conference. I've been doing conferences for a very long time, and I maybe out of the 200 or 300 people that were there really only knew about 5. So it was kind of interesting to see this as a conference, to get to meet some other people and have some conversation about it. But one of the reasons that I really wanted to sign up for this conference was their keynote speaker at the lunch was Pat Mulroy. And Pat Mulroy I've never had the opportunity until this event to actually hear her speak, and she was a phenomenal speaker. She just calls it what it is and lays it all out there, and makes no apologies about it whatsoever. And to have some conversation and to ask some questions and to chat with her afterwards was a true pleasure. She really did lead the way for a lot of things in the industry. She's been around for a long time. So I was really happy to listen to her and have a conversation with her. And then there were some very other notable speakers. Savaji, the new general manager for Metropolitan, was a speaker at that. Bill Hastingcamp was a speaker at that. Anna from BB&K was participating in that conference. It was nice to hear some of her perspective coming from, the DC and perspective on some stuff that's going on back there. And also got to hear from, who else was there? Bill Hastingcamp was there for Colorado River and to talk about some of the things that are going on there. Obviously, we still don't have an agreement set on Colorado River. The deadline has come and gone. And they're still talking about what's happening next and what the challenges are there, so.
Is April 1st the new deadline?
I know, right? It's just hilarious at this point how far they're pushing things back. It really is. So who knows what the new date is? I keep hearing the target changes. I keep hearing the discussions are changing. So when I have something concrete to stand on in terms of Colorado River, then I'll be happy to share that with you all, but I still don't know where they're at with it. I know that Director Lewitt has been appointed to the ad hoc committee for the Colorado River negotiations, along with several other directors. So we've got staff is completely, board members, everybody is all in. So I'll keep you posted as we keep moving through that. Other than that, that's all I have to share.
Okay, thank you. Chino Basin Water Master.
Okay, Water Master had a special meeting on the 13th, Friday the 13th. It was a closed session only to discuss pending litigation, and there was no reportable action. The important thing that's happening at Water Master right now is going back to the appellate court decision challenging some withdrawal of water from Metropolitan's dry year yield program. The appellate court said some water was withdrawn inappropriately. Some people who withdrew water didn't have a local agency agreement, which is required to withdraw water. Another had another problem, and they withdrew water. And the court basically said that water was withdrawn improperly and it should have been paid for, and taking out of the dry year yield program pays in a different manner. So they said, go back and correct your assessment packages for water production for 2 fiscal years. And Water Master Board is supporting an assessment package that bills for the improper production. So they get, Water Master will get the money from the water production, but the court did not say you have to put the water back in the dry year yield account. So Water Master's staff's position is we'll just bill for it so that the accounting is correct, but we're not going to try to make anybody replenish that water that was taken potentially improperly. There are some parties at Water Master who think that's inappropriate. So tomorrow at the advisory committee, the advisory committee will be considering whether to recommend approval of the staff proposed revised assessment packages or not. And then it will come to the board next week for an action. And chances are good that there will be litigation either way it ends up being settled. So the lawyers stand in good stead. And that's Water Master.
Okay, thank you.
And
CDA.
CDA.
think
CDA also met, it was pretty routine, some contracts just for operating kinds of things. One that was interesting and shows some innovation on CDA's part. They had put out a bid for resin, which is used in the desalters, and the bids came back kind of high, and as they looked at why that was, they found that they had specified certain packaging of the resins. It was like 100-pound bags or something like that. So they were paying the vendor to take material out of a 55-gallon drum and put it in bags and then deliver that. And they said, you know, we can actually take it out of the 55-gallon drum ourselves. So they rejected all of the bids, and they're putting it back out to bid for the bulk storage delivery. So it will save some money. So I was glad to see them thinking a little bit outside the box. And that's pretty much it for CDA.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, and Director Risby had to leave, so I think she reported on RCRA last time, if I'm not mistaken. There was no meeting, okay, WRCOG.
WRCOG, so we didn't have a meeting, I'll have a report next time. However, I did just want to remind you, General Assembly is coming up in June, and so if you hopefully will want to see our keynote speaker, who is going to be Tony Hawk coming in, so that ought to be a really interesting General Assembly. And then wanted to compliment WRCOG staff for putting together the Women's History Month event that was out in Moreno Valley at their conference center. It has overgrown this room. We normally have, for many years, have hosted that here, this room, and I understand that they had to cap it at 200 attendees. So very successful event, and I heard it went very well. Unfortunately, I was up at Metropolitan dealing with our business up there and could not attend that event. But my compliments to staff, and I have a number of people that reached out to me that said it was a beautiful event. So, and I appreciate your attendance at that event. But, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, and let's see, Serrano, Aqua? Anything for Aqua, Brenda?
No, we haven't had a meeting for the region. Obviously, spring conference is coming up in May, so if you haven't let Tammy know that you want to attend that, I would do that really quickly because it always gets booked up. It's in Sacramento, so look forward to having that. Again, Craig has been asked to present on SB 72 and what's next. And that's going to be our region program and how they're going to do that. So I assume you're working on that.
Well, we proposed it, we submitted, we're waiting to.
Here?
Have we heard
anything yet? Okay.
No, we haven't heard. So
All right.
our engine's revving.
Okay, I'll do some pushback on that and see where we're at. So I'll make a call and we'll get the answer for sure. So, but that's all I have for Aqua.
Okay. We'll go to director's comments. Director Torres?
No comments today.
No, okay. I'm just kidding. Director Gardner?
Yeah, just real quickly, I mentioned it a little bit in the comments on the agreement with San Diego County Water Authority, but it is a pleasure to work with this board and our staff and do cool stuff like that. And I don't know why anybody would want to go to the Riverside City Council instead of keeping doing this.
I'm not sure either. Okay, Director Devstat?
Thank you. Now, just wanted to do a real quick comment on the event out at March. It was a really nice turnout. You guys did a really great job. And, you know, it just brings to light all the hard work that happens behind the scenes and how much time and effort you guys put behind things to make things go and keep the district in a positive direction and take care of and address our customers' concerns and solve problems before they get to be really big problems. And there's just a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of energy that is spent in those areas. And I just want to say, you know, that goes along with, to the San Diego thing, you know, signing that agreement today and having that historic moment and being a part of that is a huge lift for staff, and don't think that it hasn't gone unnoticed and unrecognized for our level of appreciation to get to that and to be able to have bragging rights that we're the first ones out the gate. So that's a huge win for us and just a huge success story and a true testament of how hard our folks here at this team work and how dedicated they are and what they do for our customers, our member agencies, and all of us every single day. So just wanted to say that. Okay, Director Torres?
Sorry, I thought of something.
No worries.
A couple, actually, as Director Dunstead was speaking, when I first ran for this seat, I was warned about the March Air Force Base being a problem. And yeah, I really don't remember the discussion, but it was like, it's contaminated, like nobody wants to handle it. And I had got an opportunity to thank Congressman Takano for attending, even though I wasn't able to make it. I was so bummed that I couldn't make it. But I mentioned that Western stepped up. So I don't know if the rumors were true or if whatever I heard. I just know that Western stepped up and we got it done. And that was what was commemorated on last week. And so, again, I think I gave my flowers for the agreement, but same with this. However many years later, to know that we did step up, we took care of business is a big deal, and I wish I could have been there, but otherwise, really great work.
All right, thank you. And I was able to attend a couple different things. I went to the Norco College 35-year anniversary dinner, and I was there really kind of because of my role on the President's Advisory Committee there, and they did back-to-back events. So they had the dinner that night, and then the next morning was the Industry Partners Breakfast, which I was just so happy that Western was the sponsor of that. It was very well attended. Of course, we get our logo up on the slideshow and get introduced and things like that, and it helps to get our name out there. And it was a great event and delicious breakfast. And oh my gosh, the dinner, I have to find out the restaurant that catered it because it was probably the best brisket I had ever had. And it was a local restaurant. So that was very, both of those events, I was glad I was able to attend those. I also attended I don't know if I have the right name, WaterWise 101 that Western put on last Saturday. And I encouraged my husband to come. And I don't know how excited he was about coming, but by the time he left, he's like, oh, we need to go to all of these. And I said, okay. So it was a good turnout. It was run very well. It was on time. And I learned that we have some citrus trees back behind. I never go back behind the back side of the building. I'm like, I didn't even know we had citrus back here. So we did the last half hour, we did a walk around the building and talked about a lot of the plants that are out here and things. And the master gardener that put it on, and forgive me, I think her name was Lisa or Lynn. It was an L name, I'm pretty sure. She was fabulous. It just was really, really good. And they're doing them quarterly. So this is taking place of the online master gardener workshops that they had for quite a while. So we're looking forward to the other ones. And I was able to attend the Women's History event from WRCOG, and this, I believe, was the first year I was able to go, and I so enjoyed it. It was organized and well-run, and it moved along. You didn't have time to be like, ho-hum. It just kept on moving, but I will tell you, the icing on the cake for me was sitting at the table with our staff and getting to know them, because there were some icebreakers and some thought-provoking questions and things like that. And so getting to know them away from here, not that they're not great here, they are, but a little more personally, I guess, was where I was going with it. Because sometimes I feel like there's this kind of separation, just by the nature of the organization and how we function. And I have to tell you, I loved it. And it was, I will definitely go again next year, but, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that for right now, but I really, really had a good time and getting to know everybody. And they were so welcoming, you know, for, oh yeah, we have a seat here. And I was like, oh, good. So it was really awesome. So that's it. Do we have requests for future agenda items? No, okay. And we do have a monthly investment report, item 10, January 2026. We will be going into closed session. And before we do that, I just want to thank the board for the opportunity tomorrow to be able to represent all of you down in San Diego for this historic, as a few people have said, historic occasion tomorrow. I'm just really honored to be able to do that, and I'm really looking forward to it. And this has been like the last 2 weeks have been with the groundbreaking and SB 72 and this, and it's like, but it's all so good. So, yeah, you guys are like, yeah, we need a vacation. So I get it. So I just wanted to say that, and I'm sure that you will hear all about it. I'm assuming their meeting will be, do they live stream their meetings, or?
Oh, I don't know for
Okay.
sure. They're nodding, so they must.
Okay.
It's,
So probably through their website, you could find it? Yeah.
I would say they will be, and then they're also expecting a large media presence.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so I think with that, Mr. Ballinger, do you want to take us into closed session, please?
Yes, the board will be meeting in closed session to discuss item 11B.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just sitting here signing papers. I'm moving on to whatever's next. Okay, we will come back into open session. Mr. Ballinger, was there any reportable action?
There was not. The board met to discuss item 11B, and there was no reportable action.
Okay, and we're going to go ahead and do a roll call.
Yes, thank you very much. Director Gardner.
Present.
Director Torres.
Here.
Director Dinstedt. Director Risby. President Roten.
I'm here.
Thank you, President Roten. You do have a quorum.
Okay, with that, we will, I buried my, our next meeting is Wednesday, April 1st, 2026 at 9:30 right here. And with that, we are adjourned at 12:49.